What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was also the most necessary? Not eventually necessary, not necessary after you processed it and healed and found perspective. Necessary in the exact moment it arrived, precisely timed, exactly placed, not despite its pain, but because of it. 2,500 years ago, a man named Lao Tzu wrote something that most people hear and immediately dismiss, not because it is wrong, because accepting it fully would require releasing the one thing human beings are most terrified to release: control. He wrote, "Nothing happens by chance, not some things, not the good things, not the things you planned and worked for and deserved, nothing. Every single event, every apparent accident, every door that slammed, every relationship that ended, every plan that collapsed, every moment that broke you open, none of it by chance." Most people hear this and think it is comfort. Pretty words for difficult times. It is the most radical and demanding truth in all of ancient philosophy, and understanding it completely will change how you move through every remaining day of your life. The world we built. We live inside a story about randomness. Good luck, bad luck, wrong place, wrong time, right place, right time, coincidence, accident, fate. We have built an entire civilization on the assumption that life is fundamentally chaotic and that our job is to impose order on the chaos through planning, control, and relentless management of outcomes. We plan obsessively. We control frantically. We worry endlessly. We try to stay one step ahead of a life that simply will not be controlled. And then something happens that we did not plan. Something breaks. Something ends. Something arrives completely unexpectedly and destroys the order we spent years constructing. And we call it chance. We call it bad luck. We call it wrong. Lao Tzu was pointing to something else entirely. The Tao, the natural way of all things, does not operate through randomness. It operates through patterns, through flow, through an intelligence so vast and so precisely calibrated that the human mind cannot fully comprehend it, only experience it. And you have experienced it. The moment you almost took that job, but something stopped you, and months later, you understood exactly why. The relationship that ended in what felt like devastation, that years later you recognized as the beginning of everything real in your life. The door that slammed shut, that forced you through another door, into a life you never would have chosen, that became the only life you can now imagine living. These were not accidents. These were the Tao moving through your life with a precision that your planning mind could never have achieved on its own. Nature does not hurry. Lao Tzu wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Not some things, not the things you planned. Everything, including the things that felt like failure, including the things that felt like loss, including the things that felt so wrong, so painful, so completely opposite to what you wanted. Everything was being accomplished through those moments too." This is the part of Taoist wisdom that is hardest to accept. Not that good things happen for a reason. Most people are comfortable with that, but that the painful things, the losses, the failures, the betrayals, the endings, those happen for a reason too. The Tao does not divide life into good events and bad events. It sees only movement, flow, a river finding its way through every obstacle towards something the river itself cannot see, but the landscape already knows. Think about water. When water encounters a rock, it does not stop. It does not panic. It does not call the rock a mistake or demand that the rock be removed before it can continue. It simply finds another, and sometimes that other way leads somewhere more beautiful than the original path ever would have reached. This is what Lao Tzu meant. Not that life is predetermined in a rigid mechanical way. Not that you have no choices, no agency, no ability to shape what comes, but that the natural intelligence of all things is always working, always moving, always finding the way. Even through what looks like obstruction, even through what feels like catastrophe, towards something that cannot yet be seen from where you are standing. The still mind. Lao Tzu wrote, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." The still mind, not the planning mind, not the controlling mind, not the mind that is desperately trying to figure out why this happened and what it means and what comes next. The still mind. Because the still mind can perceive what the busy mind cannot. It can sense the pattern beneath the apparent chaos. It can feel the direction beneath what looks like randomness. It can hold what is unfolding without immediately labeling it disaster. or gift, without immediately rushing to fix it or flee from it. This is not passivity. This is not resignation. This is not giving up and calling it philosophy. This is the highest form of intelligence available to a human being. The intelligence that can hold uncertainty without collapsing into fear. The intelligence that can face loss without calling it only loss. The intelligence that can stand in the middle of everything and say quietly to itself, "This too is the Tao. This too is moving me somewhere. This too is not by chance." Modern neuroscience has begun to confirm what Lao Tzu taught through direct experience. Research on post-traumatic growth, the measurable psychological expansion that follows significant suffering, consistently shows that the people who recover most fully and grow most deeply from loss are not the ones who fought hardest against what happened. They are the ones who found a way to hold what happened with openness rather than resistance. The ones who could say, "I do not yet understand this," without that uncertainty destroying them. The still mind, the farmer's mind, the farmer. There is a story that has survived 2,500 years because it contains something that logic alone cannot teach. A farmer's horse runs away. His neighbors come to console him. "What bad luck," they say. The farmer says, "Maybe." The horse returns, bringing 7 wild horses with it. His neighbors celebrate. "What good luck," they say. The farmer says, "Maybe." His son tries to ride one of the wild horses, falls, breaks his leg. His neighbors mourn. "What bad luck," they say. The farmer says, "Maybe." War comes to the region. Every able-bodied young man is conscripted to fight in a conflict from which most will not return. The farmer's son, because of his broken leg, is left behind. His neighbors come to him again. "What good luck," they say. The farmer says, "Maybe." Not that everything immediately reveals itself as good. Not that every loss turns into visible gain within a reasonable time frame. Not that the farmer never felt fear or grief or confusion, but that he held every event, every apparent disaster, and every apparent gift with the same single word, maybe. Maybe this apparent disaster is not what it seems. Maybe this apparent loss is not the end of the story. Maybe the intelligence moving through this event is placing something into position that I cannot yet perceive from where I am standing right now. Maybe the practice. This single word is one of the most powerful practices available to you. Not a mantra, not a positive affirmation, a genuine open question held in the face of uncertainty. An honest acknowledgement that you are standing too close to this moment to see what it is part of. The next time something happens that you did not plan, something that breaks your certainty, something that feels like chaos or loss, or before you collapse into the story that this is terrible, this is wrong, this should not be happening, whisper maybe this is the Tao, maybe this is moving me somewhere I cannot yet see, maybe this apparent obstacle is actually the path. Not because you are certain, but because you have lived long enough to know that your certainty about what is good and what is bad has been wrong before. You have stood in the ruins of something and called it only ruin. And then time and the landscape shifted, and you understood. You have experienced this. Every single person reading these words has experienced this. The moment that felt like the end, that was actually the beginning. The loss that cleared the space for something real. The closed door that was the only reason you ever found the open one. You know this is true, not as philosophy, as lived experience. Conclusion. Lao Tzu wrote this 2,500 years ago, and it has survived because it points to something that does not change. The universe is not indifferent to you. Life is not throwing random events at you and watching what happens. The same intelligence that has kept the stars in orbit for billions of years, that has grown every tree and formed every river and guided every season to arrive exactly when it is needed, that same intelligence is moving through your life with the same precision, with the same care, with the same perfect timing that brings spring after every winter, without fail, without exception, without a single accident. Nothing in nature happens by chance, and you are nature, not separate from it, not subject to it from the outside. Nature itself, moving with the same intelligence, shaped by the same Tao, part of the same river finding its way through every rock towards something the river cannot yet see. Nothing has been wasted, not the hardship, not the loss, not the unexpected turn that broke everything open, not even this moment, maybe especially this moment. Tell me in the comments, what is one thing in your life that felt like a disaster at the time, but later revealed itself as exactly what you needed. Be honest. The most important realizations often arrive disguised as the worst moments. Comment maybe if you made it to the end. I reply to every single one. Subscribe, and until next time, trust the Tao.